Hey, no. Do what?
You have to call Commissioner Gage Watch Pass
Just fine.
I got the memo.
Did y'all figure that out and plan all that?
It's what awareness?
I asked my wife to do it.
I don't think I have one.
I got a vest.
What about booze camp?
Dr. Wilson, did you know that Jim Ryan was there? Is that why you're wearing orange? You know, he said he claims to know. I think he may have just gotten lucky.
We saw yours.
Gun violence awareness.
Well, good. Let me know if that doesn't work out. But it sounds like it should. Awesome.
I got to hear it on the news, like they had a rally in Shreveport. Yeah, on Saturday. Make sure
It's getting increased or decreased on Saturdays.
right.
Oh, great.
Hey, guess what? We got one.
Yeah, y'all. Another, at least one person who definitely won't be here. They're got nothing. I'm a little curious if with that. I knew that. Yes. I'm a little curious if Stephen doesn't come. I don't know if that juvenile justice meeting will happen. I mean, I haven't seen it, but last I spoke with him,
Hello. It looks like you just did. I know.
They're working on that.
But I will tell you that's what they're calling it. But you know, they can still.
Might have to look at other things.
All right, y'all ready?
Yes, sir.
Caddo Commission work session for June 5th, 2023 at 3:30. It's now called to order. Mr. Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Hopkins.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Young.
Here.
Commissioner Burrell.
Here.
Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Gage Watts.
Present.
Commissioner Cawthorn. Commissioner Atkins.
Here.
Commissioner Chavez.
Here, sir.
Commissioner Lazarus.
Here.
And Commissioner Epperson. You have 8 members present and 4 absent. That does constitute a quorum.
Okay, today we'll have our invocation by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts and our pledge of allegiance by Commissioner John Atkins. Would you stand, please?
Let us pray. Oh God, how we humbly come before your throne of grace and mercy, God. Thanking you, Lord God, for another opportunity to come together in unison, God, to do the work and the will, Father God, of the people. God, we ask right now, Father God, a special prayer for all of those who were affected by the storms on this weekend, God, for the life that we know that was lost, oh God. We ask that you would keep and comfort the family during this bereavement time. God, we stand, Father God, and we ask you, God, to give us the wisdom and the guidance, God, that will be pleasing and acceptable in your sight. God, we remember, Father God, all of those who have been affected by gun violence. And Lord, we ask you, God, that you will give us what we need, Father God. Lord, not to just slow it down, but to stop it. Lord, we ask you to bless all of those who are first responders, God, our military, God. Lord, keep them and protect them at all times. Lord, we love you and we thank you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in facing the flag and reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Active military and reservists can render a proper salute along with first responders. Everybody else, your hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Mr. President also should say, let's remember our POWs and MIAs.
Yes, sir. All righty then. Thank you, Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts and Commissioner John Atkins. Mr. Clerk?
Okay, that brings us to agenda additions, and I am aware of at least one agenda addition today. We may have additional ones, but the one that I'm aware of is adding a special resolution recognizing Bishop Trammell, and that is one that has already been delivered, but needs to be ratified.
Okay.
I move, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Be on the board. Motion by Commissioner Epperson and second by Commissioner Gage Watts. Commissioner Epperson?
Just one proclamation into the formal records of the commission.
Okay. Let's vote.
Do we need a public?
I'm sorry.
Again, we would need to
That's right, do a
open the
public hearing.
public hearing.
Okay. Floor is open for public hearing. Anyone who want to voice support or opposition, do it at this time. If not, the public hearing is closed. Mr. Clerk?
Okay. So then now you will be voting to expand the agenda for this resolution.
Let's vote.
Looks like I'm just waiting on Commissioner Jackson's vote. There we go, and that passes with 9 in support, none in opposition. And that brings us to citizens' comments, where citizens are asked to fill out a comment card that are located in the foyer and turn it into either myself or the president. I've not received any, and I don't know if Mr. President.
No, sir, I don't have any.
Are there?
I'm sorry.
I believe there's a citizen who wants to give a comment.
Okay, do we have a card on him? We probably need to.
Might want to fill out a card.
Okay, let me go grab one.
If there's anyone else that have any public comments, you may want to go ahead on and fill out a card.
Thank you.
While we're waiting on others to get theirs filled out, I will be calling Mr. Henry Thomas III. come up to speak on funds for the Bayou. Mr. Henry Thomas III.
How y'all doing?
Welcome, Mr. Thomas. If
Thank
you
you,
would,
thank
state your
you.
name for the record.
Okay. My name is Henry Thomas. I'm the president of the Cherokee Highland Park Neighborhood Association, and I'd just like to say thank you for letting me get up here and speak. Okay. Can I go ahead and start speaking? Okay. Yeah, I'd just like to come up here, and I thank y'all for putting on the agenda. I don't know if it's already been voted on or not for its passing about us getting maybe some funds to clean up the park, the bayou up there in the Mamie Hicks area in Cherokee Park. I know Mr. Jackson has been coming to our meetings, working with us for many years, trying to get some funds for it. And I know it's been kind of hard. We've always been trying to say, is it the city or the citizens or whoever's responsible? But like I say, for the last few years, we haven't gotten anything done on it. So I just like to come up here and say thank y'all for putting on the agenda to see if we can get something done. And like I say, I want to thank Mr. Jackson very much for always showing up at our meetings and giving us some good advice. And that's all I want to say on that. And I just appreciate y'all looking at that and hope we can get it passed on the agenda. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Thomas.
All right.
Our next citizen up would be Mr. Kenneth Russ on election integrity. State your name for the records, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Dr. Kenneth Russ, and I'm from Louisiana Citizens for Election Integrity. I'm from Baton Rouge. I'm a retired marketing professor from Jackson State University. I hope my Grambling and my Southern friends won't hold that against me, but I am a Louisiana native and returned home to retire with my family. The organization, Louisiana Citizens, is a grassroots organization that's nonpartisan, that studies election integrity issues. And I commend the commission for studying this issue because it is a bipartisan issue. It's not confined to any one party or group of people. And I wanted to share with you briefly some recent polling results which may help you as you explore options to how to conduct elections in our state. This is a Rasmussen poll from April 20th, 2023. And these are the two questions. How likely is it that cheating affected outcomes in the midterm elections of 2022? 60% said it was likely. 78% Republicans, which you would expect. 48% Democrats, which was somewhat unexpected, and 53 non-affiliated. Second question, how likely is it that state and federal officials are ignoring evidence of widespread election fraud? 62% said it's likely, 79% Republicans, 50% Democrats, and 57% unaffiliated. So this issue, we believe, is a bipartisan issue, and again, we're thankful that you are looking into it. The other and more disturbing poll, which I would call your attention to, and this is an emerging issue, this is from the Harvard-Harris poll, which by no means can be considered a conservative or right-wing poll. Voters are very concerned about future interference by the FBI and intelligence agencies in elections, and they think additional reform is necessary. 71% agreed with the statement, does the U.S. government need wide-ranging reform to prevent interference in elections? Second question, are you concerned or not concerned about interference by the FBI and intelligence agencies in future presidential elections? The breakdown by party is 37% very concerned, 33% somewhat concerned, 79% of GOP, 65%
Move to extend
of
the
Dems.
Okay.
2 minutes.
Is that
Sure.
by unanimous vote?
Pardon?
You have 3 minutes. You've gone over your 3 minutes. We have
Oh.
to extend your time.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. I'm just about done.
How many minutes now?
2 minutes.
So the point I want to make, Mr. President and Commissioners, is one, to thank you again, and number two, to encourage you that this is a bipartisan issue that voters across different groups care about. And so we look forward to being able to share more information with you in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Russ. That takes us now to Ms. John Glover to speak on ordinance number 6317. State your name for the records, please.
Good evening, John Glover. I stand before you all with regards to ordinance number 6317 of 2023. If you all had checked your email, you would have seen that I did reach out to each of you to get an explanation of this particular legislation. There were quite a few questions that I was asking, and my commissioner from District 10 did respond, as well as District 8 commissioner did. But I'd like to understand the totality of what we're presenting. Seemingly all of this surrounds the mishap, the weather that was terrible back in 2021. And now we have a group of people coming together saying we want to get together and we want to develop a plan, a strategy, whereby if such should come again, we are better equipped to address it. Well, the language of the legislation kind of concerns me, particularly when it talks about 20 neighborhood-led resiliency hubs at congregations. What congregations? See, I know that this information went and made itself to the Long Range Planning Committee, but it still doesn't give me, the citizen, who those congregations are. Though there are two that are being considered for the pilot, the Highland Center and then Morning Star Baptist Church. I need to understand why those two all together. We have, to me, a conflict of interest, especially if you attend one of those settings. At the end of the day, I just need to understand the fullness of what it is that we're supposed to be accomplishing with this piece of legislation. Beyond that, I wanted to look at the agenda, which I have, and I noticed that there are a lot of resolutions on this agenda for consideration for Thursday. I need to understand, what is the purpose of the work session? Is it to do the parish's business, or are we to be here to bring forth resolutions that really have nothing to do with the parish's business? If, again, you would pass that information or the answer to me, I would appreciate it. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Ms. Glover. Are there any other?
Not that we proceed.
Okay. All right, we'll move on, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, that brings us to visitors. We have no scheduled visitors today, so we'll move forward to reports, where you have an administrative report on your electronic agenda. You do have a copy of that report, and then you have also, you should have in front of you a copy of the budget timeline.
Dr. Wilson?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Good to see you all today, sir. My first report had to do with the Juvenile Detention Center. We have 23 children in our center. 13 are awaiting OJJ transport. We have 5 or 17-year-olds, and we have 15 kids at CCC. Also, you did talk about the draft calendar for the budget 2024. It will be presented to your stations a little while ago. And also, Mr. Mike Corbin from SWEPCO will be here on Thursday to give us an update on the new data center, Resilient update. That's the project. I think it's the center of the name for the location where the data center is being put in. He'll be here on Thursday to give us an update for that. And also, just want to mention, I didn't have COVID infections on my report, but I did get an email today saying we had 1 infection on June the 2nd in the organization, and none for the outside agencies that report to us. So I thought COVID would have left town by now, but it's still here, I think, around. So that's my report for the day, sir.
Okay. All right, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, that brings us to commission remarks, communications, reports, and other items related to the work session agenda.
Get on the board for commission remarks. Commissioner Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dr. Wilson, if you could make sure that, because I had asked Donna Curtis with Shreveport Green to come down. I don't see her, and I didn't see the information.
No, sir. I saw your request, but I didn't see any results of it yet.
You gonna make sure we get that right?
I'm gonna call her and see if she can give it. She said she was on a tight schedule today.
Okay, okay.
And she couldn't get it to us.
Okay, well.
But she will try to get it as soon as she can.
Yeah, because I heard them say that Mr. Thomas, I heard you say that we have not done in the past, but I think, Dr. Wilson, you can
Last
speak
year.
to.
Yes, sir.
We did
Yes, sir.
a pretty significant lift.
Right. That's correct.
But the totality of that situation is so large, it may look like we hadn't done anything.
That's
but
right.
I think we can speak and we can show that there has been some efforts made to try to
mitigate this.
to try to mitigate. That's
Right.
a good word. To try to mitigate it,
That's correct.
even though it's not. My understanding is not parish.
That is correct.
Okay.
It's not the parish responsibility, even though we try to help out because it's part of our community.
Right.
But we did what we could do. We did
Right.
something last year, working in concert with the Shreveport Green.
Right.
And we endeavor to do again this year if we can.
Right.
And we're waiting on some cost data on what that would
Okay.
cost.
Okay.
But we continue to try to strive towards that, but, you know, it's a community issue, and we are taking on the
Right.
additional responsibility that is
Right.
not ours.
Right. And if we could get the catchments, that may be a more permanent
Yes, sir.
or sustainable solution if we could get those catchments.
That's correct.
To go in there and clean out some of that debris, or get Shreveport Green to go in and clean out some of that debris, could be a more sustainable, not a permanent fix, because people got to stop throwing stuff into the thing. But
That's correct.
and then we probably need to talk to the levy board as well about ownership too. So, but
Right.
that's a more of a state level conversation.
Yes,
so.
sir, it is.
But I just wanted to correct you, Mr.
Yes.
Thompson. I know that may have just been an error there.
Mm-hmm.
But I appreciate y'all coming down. But there have been some efforts
Yes,
by
sir.
this body to help mitigate the situation over there. And we're going to continue,
Yeah.
hopefully here today, to try to move that process along as well. So thank you, Dr. Wilson. And I look forward to getting a presentation from
Ms. Curtis.
Ms. Curtis
Yes, sir.
on what we have done so far. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. A while back, I asked a question to administration and legal about the Shreveport City Council voting on the no smoking in the casinos.
Oh.
And the reason I asked that question is because the casinos themselves sit on the river. And it's the river inside the city limits or the river Caddo Parish. Also, their decision impacts us based upon the money that comes from riverboat gaming. And I feel that if it's going to be an impact, then both bodies need to vote on a particular issue that's going to affect both revenues. And recently they've had a second vote to clear up some of the things that they did the first time around. So I just want to go moving forward, we can have a clear definition, or does it take two bodies to vote on it or one body to vote on it?
That's a fair question. Stanley, you can get that? Okay. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, you're welcome, sir.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Gage Watts.
Thank you, Mr. President. My first question is, Dr. Wilson.
Yes, ma'am.
How does a citizen sign up for alerts for the weather system? I know that flooding claimed at least one life that we are aware of. I know that New Orleans has a system, and I do know that Caddo has one. But
Yes, sir.
how does a citizen sign up to tell them to avoid certain streets? Is flooding in certain areas? How do a citizen sign up?
Okay. Commissioner Gage Watts, we have a Everbridge system that is ran through the Homeland Security Office, and citizens can go to their site and sign up to get notices, whether it's text message, phone calls, etc., and that's immediately available to them.
Can we link that to caddo.org website?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
and
ma'am.
make sure that we do some type of press release to let citizens know that we do
Yes.
have that service available to
Yes.
give them text message alerts. It's been a long time since I seen water get that high that
Yes.
quick. I know that on Hearn Avenue, it was almost, the overpass was almost submerged as well. Raspberry Lane was invisible off of Pines Road, and I know that there were several people who were stranded on top of their vehicles. So I don't know if we're having some type of new drainage issue or if there's something that's going on, but I would like to get a lot more insight of where we are with that.
Okay.
And also to find out if there was a tornado that actually touched down. I know that I have at least one report that a car was damaged at the fairgrounds. And I've seen some damages also in that area, not sure about the homes. But if we could reach out to Robert Jump and
Yes.
get us a report on what's going on with that.
I will say the Everbridge is linked to our website. It's also on all of our social media. We can have that resent out to remind citizens that they can sign up for those alerts.
Great. Okay, next, Kelvin, I think I seen, Director Samuel.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a quick question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Did we get any response from property standards or any investigation results about the animal caucuses on Amy Street?
I didn't get anything. I'll resend the email tomorrow morning and I'll attach you to it.
Okay.
And I'll conduct strict follow-up.
Okay, because I'm getting constant reports at that same address about the same issues, and I don't know if it's some type of animal abuse that is associated with the property standards issues there. But I do want to loop in the city of Shreveport to make them aware that there is an ongoing issue in that area.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Yes, ma'am.
That's it, Mr. President. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, one more thing. I want to make sure that we support the Mavericks. They have advanced to round one. They'll be playing here in Shreveport at the Centenary Gold Dome on Thursday. I think kickoff is 7:05 p.m. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Gage Watts. Commissioner Epperson.
Attorney Frazier, could you research, it appears to me that I thought a suit was filed between Caddo and Bossier Parish as to the location of those casinos. And I think they was saying something about the river had moved to a certain point. So it appears as though the buildings may be on Shreveport side, but the casinos, which is on the water, may be on Bossier side. So that's a valid concern that Mr. Johnson has brought up. Thank you.
Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Clark, no need to get up. I just want to make sure you saw that an email I sent you, and I don't, you may have responded to me already regarding Wallace Lake Road. Okay, could you please take a look and give me some feedback on that whenever you have a moment tomorrow? Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, Commissioner Gage Watts for the second time.
Thank you. Just one other request. I know that there's a lot of trash in the street also from the storm. So if we could get a team out to try and clean up those areas as well. Thank you, Mr. President. That's it.
Okay. Mr. Clerk.
All right, that brings us to President's report.
Well, I guess I could have made my remarks on the commission side, but I'm going to reiterate something that Commissioner Gage Watts had talked about previously because it occurred in my district, commission district, and that is the flooding and the death that occurred on Hearn and near Midway. That has been a problem for years in that low-lying area. I don't know if anything that has been done, really done to make a difference. It's my understanding there's a pumping station. Is there some sort of pumping facility there?
That I don't know, Commissioner Burrell. We need to find out.
Well,
I'm
yeah.
not sure if there's a pumping station there at that location or not.
Well, we need to find that out because when I saw the photos of that water coming all the way up to where that overpass is, I mean, I have seen it over the years. Being in public life for 20-some years, I've seen it high, but I've never seen it that high. And given the fact that we did have a loss of life and potentially could have had a loss of 2 other lives, I understand. Was it more than that one person in that car? Seems like I understand a lady and a child. It's just only one?
I just heard one.
Okay.
Going to the news report this morning, it was just one.
Okay. All right. Well, the family has my condolences. But please check and see what the city is doing, if anything,
Yeah, we reached
about
out to
that
them.
location, because it has been a problem for years. And it appears that it's not getting any better. Anyone else? If not, we move on. Mr. Clerk?
Okay, that
Oh,
brings
I'm
us.
sorry, Commissioner Johnson, for the second time here.
Yeah, I just was gonna kind of expound on one of the reasons why those areas flood so fast is because when we have a long time and there's no rain, there's a lot of trash that accumulates on the street. And once it starts to rain, that trash moves and blocks those drainages. And at that point, the water has nowhere to go. And so it does nothing then but steady increase and climb up. It happens on I-49, I-20, all different places where you got drains. If you look at those drains after the storm and after the water has gone down, you'll see the blockage of the drainage. So just pay attention to it, you'll see it, it's there.
Well, at one time, we had some street sweepers, and I don't think that they do that anymore.
They still have them, but I mean, it's too much for them. They don't think they only have a couple trucks, so it's just too much.
Well, just too much trash is what it is.
Right.
Okay, well, we need to do something to safeguard against that. That is one of those invasive issues. It appears that is the only thing we have here. Mr. Clerk?
That brings us to old business where we have none on the schedule today. So we'll move forward to new business where the first item is advancing the introduction of ordinance 6332 of 2023. That's an ordinance setting the parish millage for the purpose of paying principal and interest due in 2023 on outstanding parish bond issues, and to instruct the assessor to include said millage on the tax rolls of the parish of Caddo for the year 2023 and otherwise providing with respect thereto.
A motion by Commissioner Stephan Jones and seconded by Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Jones?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to do a substitute motion to englobo and advance ordinance 11.1, 11.2, 11.3, and 11.4.
Second. Okay, a motion to englobo 11.1, 11.2, 11.3.
Global in advance.
Global and advance, and 11.4.
Okay, and 11.4 is to englobo and advance. Okay, we can vote.
All right, that motion carries with 10 in support and none in opposition and 2 absent. That brings us to the next item, which is 11.5, advance the introduction of ordinance 6336 of 2023. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Riverboat Fund and the Oil and Gas Fund to provide an appropriation for Shreveport Green and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Motion by Commissioner Stephen Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Stephan Jones. Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I saw Ms. Donna Curtis just walked in. If we could, if it's okay, if we could suspend the rules to allow for Ms. Donna Curtis to come up and present us with some information. She may even be able to talk about some of the flooding issues and the trash. Because I've often heard her talk about that issue as well and how it prevents the water from flowing. And so, if it's okay with the body.
Okay, a motion by Commissioner Jackson and seconded by Commissioner Gage Watts to suspend the rules to allow Ms. Curtis to come up by unanimous vote. Okay, Ms. Curtis. Ms. Curtis, if you would.
Yeah, I know she kind of has been moving around today, and she walked right in. Yeah. But I asked her to come and talk about some of the work that had been done, and I don't know if she has if we could get.
Sorry, get these pictures printed.
It's okay. Could get the.
This is a picture for everyone.
Okay.
Oh, I've got it. plug, we can plug in a video of it.
Okay.
These, okay, that has one for everybody, but these were just some things we had. Oh,
See if we can put it on overhead so the public
thought
can
I'd have
see
to.
it.
Okay. Thank you, Stephen. This is a problem we've been addressing 25 years and up there at Cherokee Park. We have done volunteer cleanups. It's very difficult to do a volunteer cleanup without the help of either the fire department helped us a couple of years getting their equipment out there to clean it. The problem originates in the neighborhood itself. The neighborhood has 23 sewer drainages that drain directly into the bayou. The bayou is very sluggish. It's not fast moving. It's mainly still. I mean, it barely moves. And so we've worked with the citizens in Cherokee Park with door hangers, with informational brochures passed out, everything, trying to get them to come to try to contain their trash, particularly in the streets. There's several dump sites around the perimeter of the neighborhood that we have targeted in past cleanups with groups of people that come, that we're able to convince to go and clean up these specific dump sites. But when it rains, or if we have any kind of weather event, the trash goes all the way down the drain. And the only place it goes is in the bayou, because it's gray water. It's not a problem water. It's just gray water off the streets. But that's where we get the gum wrappers, the fast food items, the things like that you just see tossed aside. But we also get some stuff from garbage cans that aren't contained in the garbage can and fly out before the garbage people come by or otherwise. So that's the main problem. To add to that is that people also throw things in there. They throw, as you can see in some of your pictures, tires, bicycles. We've gotten television sets. We've gotten, I didn't bring my list with me, but we have one year, the first year, well, no, it was about 8 years ago, we cleaned it with the help of the fire department. And it was an all-day affair. We didn't get the whole thing cleaned. It was, I think we had like 46 tires. We had 12 shopping carts. We had bicycle parts. We had a boat. And the last 2 years, at Stephen's request, we have hired people to clean it, and we've cleaned it twice a year. And that's about a $10,000, $11,000, $12,000 event. They have to hire the equipment to get it. They're able to get enough boats, but they have to have special equipment to do some of it, and then get it and dispose of it. And it takes them 2 or 3 days, and they're like 8 or 9 people out there in the boats doing that.
Mr. President, move to extend 3 minutes.
Okay,
Thank you.
moved. Okay, by unanimous vote. Okay, continue.
I can leave.
You got another 3 minutes?
Excuse me.
You have another 3 minutes or less?
Oh, okay. It's, and that's the big problem. They were able to clean it up twice a year. It removes the scum. We were really eager to clean it up completely and then put some kind of sprinklers out there to keep the green algae off the top of it. And I know Dr. Wilson and I have discussed at times, and with Patrick with Parks, that we'd like to put, and we've had the money to put some litter collectors there. I think we need at least 3, maybe 4, to collect the litter, and then I've talked to the city, and the city will assist us with cleaning those out regularly. They need to be looked at regularly. But the first estimate I got was $20,000. I went to a meeting and saw a cheaper one, Osprey, which is in Louisiana, and I've talked to them. They've not come to Shreveport, but I've gotten a lower number, maybe $8,000 to $12,000 to put per one to put in to catch the litter. The water moves very slowly, but it would work to catch them. But we'd need 3 different at least 3 different ones to catch it all. And even that wouldn't completely take care of the gross littering that's done, the larger things, but at least it would catch it, it wouldn't go downstream. So it's an expensive, it's an expensive problem, and I'm certainly, but we've got to do it. It's a very big project for any kind of, for volunteers to do it. We can do it along the sides, but to reach it, you have to go on a boat. You can't go down from the edges. When our guys have gone in there, they've done it, and they've trimmed some of the foliage back, but that's a problem. I know one of the things you had, Commissioner Jackson, was from a neighbor who was concerned about the overgrowth of of grass over the sidewalk. That's, I guess, is maybe the school's problem, or it's the city problem. It's not, it wouldn't, I mean, we could do it, it would cost us probably a little more, but if we're gonna get to the walkway along the school that was all overgrown, that's either Caddo Parish school system or it's the city of Shreveport, and I'll be glad to look at that and make a determination on it. But it's a big problem, and I appreciate your support. We've worked real closely with Caddo Parish for a long time, done a lot of work with Parks and Recreation. In fact, I was out there all morning finishing up the project up there, Todd, the other side of the sign. So we've now got a nice sign and a fabulous park in the making. It's going to be wonderful. So I appreciate your help and hope for your support.
Okay, we may have some questions. Ms. Curtis? Ms. Curtis?
Yeah. Thank you.
Commissioner I'm sorry.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson.
Thank you. Yes. I just want to thank Donna Curtis and Shreveport Green. She's correct. Yes. They've been out there for years trying to fix this issue and all over our parish. And I wanted the citizens to hear that there had been, and she has pictures of the efforts that they have done. Y'all go in and y'all clean out one side, but then there's another side, and then when you came and told me that there were 26.
20, and it's the drains are coming in.
Right,
it's
coming straight into it.
It's education. I mean, that boils down to education, but it's been very difficult. Mm-hmm. We've not been able to get enough people at the meetings to really make an impact. Mm-hmm. Education-wise, we've delivered door hangers, we've handed out brochures talking about the necessity, even cute little things saying, just, bag your trash. Don't just throw it in your garbage can, put it in a bag first, because, a lot of times, I know all over town, it falls out.
I've been interested in talking with Dr. Soul, and we're going to try to get the younger individuals more engaged, so I'm committed to doing that. We're getting Dr. Jan Soul and his team to come out with the boats and try to get our youth, because Cherokee Park is mainly it's an aging population. It's more senior, retired individuals, and so trying to get them out to do a lot of that stuff can be a challenge as well.
It's very difficult.
Yes.
It's very difficult.
Yes.
And it's been difficult for years.
Correct.
You say aging, and that's a good.
Correct. I'm trying to be diplomatic about it. I don't want to call anybody old because I'm getting up there myself. But I do want to point out to commissioners about this ordinance that the levee board used to maintain this bayou. And I want to say maybe about 15, 20 years ago or something, they stopped maintaining the bayou. And citizens didn't know that they were supposed to be maintaining the bayou. And all the vegetation and stuff started growing up. The debris started piling up, and folks started looking to see who was supposed to be maintaining it. Was it the city? Was it the parish? Then they found it was the levee board, and then the levee board basically said, we don't maintain it anymore. And so there's some state law that says if the water is no longer navigable, the property automatically reverts back to citizens or something like that. So that's where Shreveport Green has come in and done a lot of heavy lifting.
Right, and the other side, I guess the north side in some areas of the bayou belongs to commercial property.
And they maintain that.
That is abandoned. Some of it is abandoned. Mm-hmm. We've talked to several of the businesses along there. If you keep on around, you get to where it is well maintained and what it could look like, which is like a park.
Right.
Up there by
Probably Jokes building.
Okay, it's gone. It went through my head. I can't think. The nice building up there that has been maintained, and they mow to the bayou, and they keep it pristine.
And that's actually in Bossier Parish.
Yeah, and they've done a good job.
Right.
This does border on a school, which is of concern to me. It borders on a park, which is obviously of concern to everybody. And mostly it impacts some citizens who aren't able to maintain it. It's gotten out of hand, and the levy board abandoned it, and I don't know the politics or the legality of but that's what it is. So it's
So I just
it's
wanted
just
to
a
give
problem.
everybody sort of the totality of what we're dealing with here. So thank you,
So-
Donna.
We've educated and cleaned as best we can with volunteers, but it's getting.
Well, my hope is we can maybe afford some of those catchments here to do something.
And we do have contact with a company that is willing to do it, but it's a little expensive, but they come out with all the big equipment and everything, and we bought bags for them to drag along behind them as they pick up, and it's worked out, but it's still a problem.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. President.
Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. Hey, Donna, thanks
Hey.
for coming down. My only reservation was the ordinance 6336 didn't have any mention of why we were giving Shreveport Green the 30,000, but you did a great job on explaining. There's nothing in here, so I just want to make sure that it is going to Cherokee Park, because there's not a single verbiage in here of Cherokee Park. So I guess it's on the record now that this is the reason for it. On the algae, are there fish in this water? Do you know, Donna?
I think so.
Commissioner
I
Jackson?
don't see anybody fishing, but I assume they're fishing there. They fish everywhere,
No,
aren't
they
they?
don't. I don't know it. I don't know that they fish. Oh, they fish? Oh, there they go. They back
I think
there.
there's some fish in there.
I see some heads now. They fish.
But it's the ground, the bayou itself, it looks unhealthy. I mean, I don't know. Since it's the runoff from the streets, that's all it is. And that has lead and gasoline and brake fluid and everything. I mean, it's just like the runoff from a parking lot, which is almost toxic, but because of the amount. I don't know what it looks like now. What happened after the big flood on Saturday? I don't know what, I didn't have a chance to go up there today to check it, but I know we had a lot of litter that was left behind from Bayou Pier as it came through the city, the southern part of the city.
There's, we have an amazing creator that made the universe, and if we have koi fish that we put in there, they would eat the algae. If there's other fish in there that people are fishing, why don't we ask LSU to see if the kids could study something on what fish could live in there? I mean, salmon have high mercury content because that's the point of the fish. They eat the stuff at the bottom. So fish that we wouldn't consume, but a fish that we could release over there that would be safe to the neighborhood, that would eat all the algae and keep it clean. We should do some research on looking at that.
I don't know that, I don't know I don't want to eat anything that's been eaten.
No, we don't have to.
Brake fluid,
There's
oil, lead.
fish species that we don't eat, but that we could release in there through the LSU Ag Center that would eat all the algae and make it look pretty, and that could still be sustainable.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never heard it, but that's a thought. I mean, I don't know why nobody's ever.
If you have a koi pond, if you feed your koi, you'll get algae. If you don't feed your koi, they'll eat all the algae. It's what they eat
That's
before we fed them.
I know fountains help. Fountains will disperse. All it has to be is be moving water, and it doesn't have a problem. We have that problem over there, in Shreve Island, just off Shreve Island. All
Duck
that
pond.
is very.
Duck pond.
Yeah,
Duck.
it's a problem. It's a problem there.
We'll just,
Had it
I just
behind
know.
my house too.
I know it is.
We'll be here next year again, having to clean it again. So if we figure out a sustainable solution with some fish and let nature do its course,
Well, to keep the trash, the little stuff out, the litter getters are for sure. And if we could put 2 or 3, I think it would be a tourist attraction to see how these things work. They've worked them in Baton Rouge, at LSU, of course, that's wonky me. That sort of thing gets me excited. But it's a solution. It's a small solution. It won't take care of all. It won't take care of people throwing the tires in there. That is enforcement and education.
we're working on your tire stuff, Donna. We'll get you a solution soon.
I'm telling you.
Thanks,
Just
President.
Get somebody to use them.
No, you're popular today.
I'm good,
Commissioner Atkins,
My questions have been answered. Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Thank you, Mr. President. One of my questions was addressed because I know in the ordinance it says livability of inner city neighborhoods, but this is exclusive to the Cherokee Park community. Yes, that's what I heard. Okay. And the second part of it was when you were talking about the litter grabbers, I wanted to place some emphasis to see if the citizens in that area had Ring doorbells. I heard Commissioner Jackson mentioning that perhaps the seniors are not the ones who are placing tires and trash in these areas. I know that that's a constant problem throughout Caddo
what problem?
Parish. The tires,
Yeah, oh,
dumping of
all over the
tires,
city.
and someone is actually bringing the tires to their area.
Absolutely.
So I think the answer to that is making sure that we have video available to catch the perpetrators who are actually dumping in that area. So I don't know, maybe deer cameras or Ring doorbell cameras to actually catch those perpetrators and prosecute them.
That's where, of course, we've worked with the city for years to put them up at, in areas that are illegal dump sites. This could easily qualify for an illegal dump site. We've put them up in certain areas that we know people are dropping tires and I mean, that's the worst because it's so expensive to get rid of now. I mean, they're $2 or $3 a tire.
Right.
And it can, I mean, it cost the city in 3 months, in 2022, it cost, in 3 months collection of tires, it was like $60,000. It's absurd. It's just absurd. And it's DEQ's responsibility to monitor it, and they don't monitor it on a store basis.
Yeah.
So that's the tires.
That's it, Mr. President. Thank you.
Okay.
Commissioner Johnson.
Is that it?
Yes, my question is commission-based. Looking at the source of funding, we talked about, I see it's Riverboat Fund. So is this deemed an emergency? That's my question.
Who are you addressing it to, Commissioner Johnson?
I'm gonna guess I'm gonna have to address it to the attorney. So she has definitions of emergency funding, so I just want to see if it is.
Attorney Frey?
Commissioner, I'm sorry, because I guess I don't understand.
Because in 2022, we said in 2023, the only way that you come out of riverboat funding and because during the years because of emergency funding. So I'm asking, is this an emergency to take money out of riverboat funds? We wouldn't make a substitute motion to amend that fund budget unless it was due to an emergency. So I'm asking the question, is this an emergency? And if it's not an emergency, then it needs to basically all come out of oil and gas.
That'll work.
Do you understand the question,
Yes,
Attorney Frazier?
I do understand the
Yeah, we
question. I will
understand.
defer an answer to the persons who wrote the ordinance, but I don't think it'll be an issue to change the fund.
Right. It does, at this point, it could be oil and gas, all oil and gas. It wouldn't be no issue.
I'm just gonna make sure that we stick to what we voted upon.
Yes, sir.
And if
If
it's
that's-
not
if
emergency, then
If that's a procedure we want to adhere to,
it could
it
fail.
shouldn't be a difficulty in changing the funding source to say exclusively oil and gas.
Okay.
Okay.
Point of information,
Yes, sir.
maybe I'm missing something, but my understanding is we are taking it out of oil and
It
gas
said both.
and transferring it to Riverboat
Yeah,
to be
and-
used.
Unfortunately, we had an actual, it's supposed to be parks. It's supposed to be parks with a transfer from oil and gas.
Well, that's not what I'm reading here.
I know, it's not what
I
you're
see
reading, but the-
riverboat and oil and gas, so
Right.
that's like two
Shreveport
sources.
Green is funded out of parks. And we
Oh,
were
okay.
supposed to have it out of parks with a transfer, if we can amend that to have it
Okay.
parks with a transfer from oil and gas.
That's,
Okay.
you know, we have a big program during the summer, well, during all year.
We're just
Where we
increasing the Shreveport
work.
Green budget that is already there out of the parks budget.
So is there anything that we need to do now?
Okay, Commissioner Johnson, the correct version to that should be from oil and gas fund to the parks fund. And that will take care of the language requirement.
Okay, so being that that is the change that has to be made, and being that it's in the title, and we've had discussion about it in the title. That's correct. Then it has to be re-ran again, right? Correct. That's what y'all told us?
That is,
before?
that's correct.
Okay, so, at this point, you know, you can make the motion to change it, but it still would have to come back or lay over.
We'll just come back to the July meeting.
You would have to lay over.
Okay, so to resolve this problem at this point, would there be a substitute motion to revise this and then have it lay over? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I can't make the motion because I've been talking, so, but somebody can amend it.
Commissioner Jackson, I think your name is on it.
I missed the conversation, because I think it's an emergency. I think it's a public health emergency. We just identified.
Mr. Jackson, we did clarify while you were talking to the citizen over there that we prefer it to come from oil and gas to the parks fund, and that would alleviate the riverboat part of it.
Okay, I'm good.
So the question
We
at
did
this
make the
point
substitute motion
is
for that.
that
I'm sorry.
we're gonna have to amend the motion in order to change the title to just say oil and gas.
Yeah, that's
And
good
then
with me.
from there, it'll lay over, it'll go back through the process, is what I'm understanding. Is that correct, Commissioner
Yeah,
Johnson?
because it's in the title.
Okay, so you want to make that motion, Commissioner Jackson? It's your ordinance. Make it then. You would be the one to make the substitute motion, not me.
Yeah,
Commissioner Jackson?
I move that we amend whatever we do to have it come from the Parks and Recreation budget.
Okay, a motion by,
Oil and gas.
From oil and gas to parks.
Oil and gas to parks and reintroduce.
Mr. Clerk, did you get that? You understand?
A motion to amend the
language of
title and the body reflective of the funding source being the oil and gas fund to parks and then to the project, and reintroducing it as such?
Yes.
Do I understand that correctly?
Okay, it's been motioned by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Jones to make that change. Are there any other questions? If not, let's vote.
All right, and that motion carries with 11 in support and none in opposition. 1 is absent.
Okay, Ms. Clark.
Okay, that brings us to.
Oh, I'm sorry, before you do that, from me, we still haven't addressed the situation behind my house. Off Lake Shore. My granddaughter came over from Dallas and she thought it was a big fish back there. It was nothing but trash, large plastic containers.
You know, that is such a special,
I'm sorry.
we've got to get it, I know where you're talking about.
And that's a moving body of water. It used to be a marina there at Lake Shore where those apartments are, and they're no longer there. People still fish there. But the people throw trash, and you have everything that comes down and it stops behind my house. That's, if it would keep on out across Lake, that's fine.
If we can get this going at Cherokee Park, our Osprey litter grabbers, I mean, it'll go from side to side. It completely bridges the creek. If we could do something there, we could catch what's coming in and pull it out. You have to clean them, well, like after, we would have had to clean it today after Sunday's event. But it's usually about once a month, once every 6 weeks, they need to be cleaned. It's not a big problem to clean them, at least on film, it's not a big problem. But I know they work with them. That's how they keep the lakes around LSU clean down in Baton Rouge. There was a big crew that lobbied and got the money to do that, raised the money to do that.
Well, that's the first problem. Second problem is the silting. All of the silt that comes off of Lakeway Drive. I live down on the lower end. It comes down to a big pipe that comes right next to my house, and it dumps it right behind the house.
You want me to work with the silt too?
That's the other
The
problem.
dirt and everything else. It's a problem, I know.
Yeah, it was something that Commissioner Jackson said. You mentioned something about a law or something that, based on navigable streams?
Yes, yes, sir.
Could you get that law for me? Because we may have to sue.
But that's part of the levy
I've already
system?
talked to-
Is it part of the levy system?
Nobody want to claim it. I've talked to
Same
the
problem.
parish, I've talked to the city, talked to the Corps of Engineers, nobody want to claim it.
Talk to the levy board and see.
All right, that's the
That's
issue.
it?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Clerk?
Okay, that brings us to 11.6. Advanced resolution number 26 of 2023. That's a resolution to authorize the parish administrator to seek proposals for an automated traffic enforcement system to be operated on roads in the unincorporated areas of the parish and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Motion by Commissioner Johnson and second by Commissioner Gage Watts. Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a resolution to have the administration to look into doing this. A few weeks ago, we went out for a new tax. This is another way to raise revenue without having to tax an individual. If somebody is speeding and they get caught, then they will have to pay a ticket. If they don't speed, there's no ticket. The difference between this and the city, this is actually having a person with a radar gun. If the gun sees the person speeding, it activates. It takes a picture of the license plate. It goes to their system. From their system, it sends that person a ticket. That person that's doing the radar gun has no interaction with the person that's passing by. These are on parish roads, so there's not going to be in the city limits. It'll be outside the incorporated city limits. They did do a couple of test runs, and there was some significant income that could be made by doing this. Even I think at 60% of the people paid the tickets, it was almost $400-some thousand that was generated within a few weeks. So if you put multiple cameras out in different parts of the parish, you can see the magnitude of the income that could be raised just by people speeding down some of these parish roads that they think that nobody is on. It's a safety issue as well, because if they're speeding that high over the posted speed limit, that's prone to them having to lose control of their vehicles, having accidents. We continue to hear about the sheriff saying that he is short on deputies, so you don't have deputies out there patrolling and being able to do this. But at the same time, we still want to make our streets safe and people maintain the speed limits. Inside the city limits, you have the same issue of police officers don't really have time to do this. So the school zones that are outside the city limits, that also would be set up for that as well down the road if we decide to do it. So this is an opportunity to have some additional revenue come into the parish without having to raise taxes. So ask that you will at least advance it. The person will be here Thursday if you got any additional questions.
Okay. I would like to comment on this too. I did sit down with the people who would probably be contracting this, and I drilled them pretty good on, well, at first I wasn't really receptive because I was sort of stung by that situation that we had at the school zone within the city, but this is nothing like that. And not only that, it's not gonna cost us anything, so it's like a pilot program, in which I liked, that we're not gonna be out any money. If it doesn't work for us, then fine, we don't get that opportunity often. So I'm in support of it. They finally convinced me that it would be worth our while to look into it. Commissioner Hopkins.
Yeah, you know, it's of course the last time I wasn't for this, and if the sheriff came down here today and asked us for the help, that would be one thing. I have a huge problem with getting a ticket and not being able to adjudicate it in front of a judge. And, you know, because I know people that have gotten tickets and they not paid it because they won't send it in to some company, and when they went to get their license renewed, they got handcuffed. And I just think if you're gonna have a system, you ought to be able to go before that judge and at least have your time before him. And that's the problem I have with this. I don't think we're gonna have that. And so I'm not gonna be for that. So my vote will be no.
Commissioner Atkins?
Thank you, Mr. President. I certainly can understand the logic behind this proposal, but similar to Commissioner Hopkins, I view this as a law enforcement arena and not a space that we should be expanding into. And that's just my personal view, so I'll be voting no.
Commissioner Gage Watts, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to add that video surveillance is available with this equipment. I remember when Mr. Sarpy came down, he expounded on eliminating confrontation and things that often result in lawsuits with the DA's office. So we should take that into consideration. And he also mentioned that it could lower our mortality rate with vehicle homicides in Caddo Parish, being that we're the highest in the nation, as well as provide the services that Commissioner Johnson mentioned, a reserve unit, that would actually be at those designated areas and that it does not cost us anything. This is also another way to address crime in our area that we deal with, because Shreveport is a part of the 11 municipalities of Caddo Parish. So I am in support of this. I hope that we can at least advance this to Thursday and get our additional questions answered at that time. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, Commissioner Epperson, and then Commissioner Johnson for the second time.
I think it's a good idea. We come up and we talk about crime and how law enforcement is short of personnel, SPD is short of personnel, Sheriff's Department is short of personnel, state troopers. Anything that we can do on a basis that has policy in place, I think we need to do it to show our sincerity in trying to abate a lot of negative situations that we have going on. I got a ticket for $5 with a camera on Dallas on a toll road. See, I missed paying the toll road. I didn't argue with it. Think I'm gonna go there, and the same thing will be with this. People know they're wrong. Drive up and down the street every day. Somebody in a Hellcat Dodge Charger just rips by you in the wrong places. That will abate a lot of that stuff. And everything, some people don't care whether you go through a judge or not. They not gonna pay a fine. But I think the majority of the people that's in this situation will pay it, and it'll be a good win-win for us. So, we need to get out of the box. Hollering about law enforcement need help and you want to participate in all this, then you come up with something that don't cost them anything. You're hollering that you're against it. So I'm in favor of it. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Johnson for the second time.
Yes, there is an appeal process to this. If a person feels that they didn't commit that speeding violation, there is an appeal process. Also, with the camera system, if they're pointing that radar gun at an individual car and say that car is stolen, that car is, they've been looking for that particular car because of the individuals that are inside, could be inside of it, this system picks that up as well. So it can also alert law enforcement of that particular issue. So we always talk about how we can help and improve crime in Caddo Parish. This is an opportunity to do that. It doesn't cost the parish one penny. This is a pilot program. If you don't like it within the time of the pilot, you can drop it. But at least we can try and say that we did put forth an effort to try to do something that would make a change. I don't know what else we can do, and otherwise we don't need to sit here and say, well, we want to prevent crime, we want to reduce crime, and then when there's situations that come about that you can do it with, you want to be against it. So we can't say that all crime prevention is going to be with law enforcement because they cannot handle it. They asking the public for help. The public is asking us for help. So it's like a dog chasing his tail. At some point in time, somebody got to step up to the plate and make a change in that circle rotation. And the only one who has that ability is us, because we can make laws, we can add in different features. The public can't do that. The public, they go and they elect us to come up with solutions. Well, this is a solution. It may work, it may not. But at least we tried, and it won't cost taxpayers a penny, other than the ones that speed. If you don't speed, you don't get caught. It's just that simple. Same thing with the hotel tax, hotel motel tax. There was a big gripe about that. But if you local and don't stay in hotel, motel in Shreveport or Bossier, it doesn't affect you. That's all I have.
Okay, Commissioner Gage Watts.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to be added as a sponsor on this resolution. Thank you.
Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've received so many dozens of complaints about the cameras that the city has installed that I really hesitate to create a similar system for the parish. We've also heard that this is considered as a financial alternative to the tax that we have just proposed that voters consider this October to fund our public safety system. And in a neighborhood meeting, I recently said that, like, I preferred asking the public at the ballot box if they wanted to raise money for public safety to doing it without asking the public. This doesn't allow us to ask the public in particular, and I have a lot of evidence to think that people don't want to pay lots of traffic tickets. I got one earlier today, as a matter of fact.
Was your bicycle?
No, it was not my bicycle. I can't actually go that fast on mine. Although, of course, it's attractive to have more money coming in that we could spend on good things, I think it would certainly not help the public want to support our public safety in the normal way, which is by voting for a millage, because it's so unpopular when people get tickets. And that millage was put on the agenda after months and months of consideration by a citizens group who asked us to do it. They asked us to put more on. Nobody has come here and said, we wish we were getting tickets from a computerized system. Please take it us. So I'm just not going to, I'm not going to support this at this time. Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson.
I'm good.
Commissioner Chavez.
Call for the question. Second.
Okay, the question has been called by Commissioner Chavez and seconded by, I'm not sure, Commissioner Epperson. Okay, Commissioner Chavez. No, I'm just saying, I mean, he posed it, so I'm just giving you opportunity. Okay.
Tired of us talking about it, that's the reason.
The vote
Okay.
should be ready.
We can vote.
All right, and that motion carries with 11 in support, none in opposition. And so that brings us to the question on the floor.
Okay.
And we have the,
If you clear it up, we can vote on that.
give us just a second. Sometimes when we add these, it gets a little backed up.
Okay,
There
a
we go.
motion by Commissioner Johnson, second by Commissioner Gage Watts. We can vote.
And that motion carries with 6 in support, 5 in opposition, and 1 absent. And that brings us to the 11.7, which is advance a special resolution for African American Music Month.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Stephon Jones. Commissioner Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. In the interest of time, I'd like to make a motion, substitute motion to Englobo and advance resolution.
Can we keep them apart?
I'm sorry.
Can we keep them apart?
Are you saying, can we make a motion on each individual one instead of?
Which one you don't want in?
I don't want the 9.
Okay. Well, take 9 out and do 9 on his own.
Okay. So we're gonna englobo what?
That would be 11.7,
7, 8,
11.8,
10, 11, 12, 13, and all those property standards.
Could we also please remove 13, Mr. or Commissioner Jackson?
Oh, yes, please remove 13. Thank you. Good catch. Remove 13.
everything but 13 and 9.
Everything but 13 and 9. Everything left on the agenda except 13.
And
The
just
addition.
for clarity, does that include the agenda additions
Yes,
today?
sir.
Yeah, okay,
Thank
great.
you.
Mr. Clerk, would you restate that?
So that's going to be an Englobo and Advance items 11.7, 11.8, 11.10, 11.11, 11.12, 11.14, which has a number of sub-items, and then today's agenda addition, which was a special resolution for Bishop Trammell.
Okay, you've heard the motion. And motion by Commissioner Stephen Jackson, second by Commissioner Stephon Jones. Commissioner Jackson?
I think Mario Chavez was trying to get us out of here. I got a committee meeting afterwards. So
Okay, Commissioner Gage Watt.
move it along.
Yes, I would like to co-sponsor 11.8 and 11.11.
Okay, Commissioner Jones.
Yes, I would like to co-sponsor 11.7, 11.8, 11.10, and 11.11 with the blessing of the authors.
Okay, Commissioner Epperson.
Restate that again for me one more time. I'm sorry, that was
11,
7, 8.
7, 8, 10, and 11.
Okay.
Okay. And 11.
And I'm sorry, I think I may have interrupted to get some clarity right before you were calling on Commissioner Epperson, I believe.
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, I think you were about to call on Commissioner Epperson when I asked for a restatement.
Commissioner Epperson.
Okay, you ready?
Yes, okay.
I'd just like to state, it's the parish's business when we recognize things that our citizens do. We got 21,000 residents in my district, 14,480 registered voters, 60% rural, 40% urban, 108 square miles. A lot of people are doing a lot of good things that some people are coming down here complaining about, trash and litter. One of the neighbors in my district just got Channel 12 Yard of the Week. Those things should be recognized. I got neighbors that walk and pick up trash during their exercise. Those things should be recognized. Have citizens in the community and in the areas that have been doing a wealth of things that ordinarily you would not hear about. But they are contributing to the positive aspects of this parish and our districts. And they should be recognized by resolutions. So I think it's absurd for anybody to say that we put too many resolutions on recognizing people. A lot of people do a lot of things for sacrifice, for no accolade, for no money, no self-glorification. That's part of our process to recognize them too. That's what spurs others to do better. And my yes vote on anything that I vote on is my endorsement of those items. Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Epperson, for calling that out, because I think it is meaningful. Particularly, Dr. King talked about, Martin King talked about the ground crew, and what he said was that the person who flies the plane and lands the plane, they're more often than not to get the credit, but very little credit goes to the crew that gets the plane up in the air. But you see them at the airport down there refilling it, restocking it. And if they didn't do their job, the pilot wouldn't look. All the pilot doing is looking pristine and clean and going on there, and radio control was the one that radioed back to tell him or her that the sky is clear and everything else, the ground crew. And that's what these resolutions, I feel, a lot of times are recognizing, are individuals who don't get their name put on TV, don't get their name put in the paper, the ground crew. And he always said we always have to make sure we recognize the humble and dedicated work of those individuals who make up the ground crew. And so that's why I always look at these resolutions as meaningful ways to recognize citizens who are quiet, but yet impactful. So I think we're doing the right thing by putting them on our agenda, and we're making a record of it. When we put it on here, we put a record of it. It's one thing for us to go whisper it in their ear, but I always tell people if it's not on this agenda, it's not on the record. And I think I tell John Atkins sometimes, I say, John, sometimes I come down here and I talk. That's just so I can make a record of it, so I can reach back months later and pull it up. Because if you don't say it here, it don't matter. Put it on the record. And so that's what we're doing here by recognizing individuals, organizations, days, those kind of things. That's what those are, the meaning of these special resolutions are for. Thank you, Mr. President.
I'm going to make a comment on that too. We are in the people business. And I was always taught by my parents that people will be motivated more by a pat on the back than money in the pockets. And I've learned that being in public life. At one time, you could get people to get out and campaign for you without dollars. Once they put the money in there, people don't already do that. They won't even do it for money. They did it more for just motivating and pat on the back. And you get better people when you do it that way. So I've learned that. So I can see where this fit. I realize it may extend our time a little bit more, but again, we are in the people's business. And while I do have the floor, I would like to be added to 11.7, 11.8, 11.10, 11.11, and 11.12 as of this point, as of this juncture. Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. Commissioner Jackson, I appreciate the fact you bring people up and recognize people. Sometimes I just wish you'd do it a little bit more concisely.
Oh, good.
Thank you, Mr. President.
That was a shot at the bow. Okay, then, Mr.
Duly noted.
Commissioner Epperson. Call for the question.
Second.
Okay, the question has been called for by Commissioner Epperson and seconded by Commissioner Gage Watts. Let's vote.
The motion carries with 11 in support, none in opposition.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, if you just repeat that, what we're voting on.
Yeah, now you're going to be voting to adopt items number 11.7, 11.8, 11.10, 11.11, 11.12, 11.14, and the additional item that was on the agenda was expanded to include.
Item of clarification, I think the clerk said we'll be voting to adopt, but you meant to say we'll be voting to advance.
Okay.
Just want the record to read properly.
All right, well, we got a clarification from Commissioner Atkins, so if you will, we'll vote.
It's not on the record.
It didn't happen.
Al Green said put it on paper.
Put it on paper.
The motion carries with 11 in support. And so because we omitted a few items, I believe I would go back to the earliest of those items next on the agenda.
11.9.
Which is 11.9, advancing a special resolution for Pride Month.
Okay. Got the motion? Okay, motion by Commissioner Jackson and second by Commissioner Young. All right, Commissioner Jackson?
Yes, no, I'll be happy that we'll have some, a group down here to accept it on Thursday, so accept the proclamation on Thursday, so look forward to it.
Okay,
Thank you.
anyone else? See. All right, we can vote.
All right, and that motion carries with 7 in support, 3 in opposition, and 2 absent. And that brings us now to item 11.13, which is advancing the selection of the official journal for the Parish of Caddo.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Epperson and second by Commissioner Chavez. Commissioner Epperson.
Move that all three be advanced to Thursday for official recognition.
Is that a substitute motion?
Only two.
No, that's what.
No, I think that is the motion.
Oh, that is the motion.
Unless I
Okay.
missed it, I think
Commissioner
that's the
Atkins.
motion.
I was just pointing out, I'd asked to pull this out, but I guess there's no harm in advancing all three, and we'll discuss it on Thursday, so.
Just for clarity, I'm not sure which agenda, we did initially have 3 applications attached, and one of the people who submitted an application asked to pull that. So in your electronic agenda, you still may see 3 attachments, but one is the letter from the Secretary of State, and then there are 2 proposals.
There's only 2.
Okay.
So you should have 2 proposals and then the letter from the Secretary of State, just outlining the process.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, I just, want to just ask for clarity. I don't know if this is a question for the attorney, or if this is a question for the clerk, or both, or the former clerk. Is my understanding is if we had a journal that printed daily or something, we could kind of, our meetings would be a little different. How would our meetings be different if we had a daily print journal or a journal that print more than once a week? I'm fine with moving them forward. I'm just curious. I just want some information.
I think what you may be referencing is certainly there is a limitation that comes from a weekly publication for us, in that the charter requires that we print within 3 days of the introduction of an ordinance, which is hard to do unless we print before you've even introduced an ordinance. So we have to print on Friday before we've even released an agenda. We just have to guess what your items that you're going to be introducing, there's not something new that's going to come up, because in order to meet the publication deadline to be printed the next Thursday, which would be within 3 days of your meeting, we've got to do it about a week early. So that does make us somewhat limited in what, how quickly we can respond to changes of that are within an ordinance that may affect the title of the ordinance. And now that obviously is not something that limits you any more than you're accustomed to, because we've been dealing with that challenge for a long time. But it may be what you're referring to.
What about items that like lay over? It doesn't affect items that have to lay over through the publications, or I thought maybe. I think we could X our Monday meeting and just meet on Thursday or something. I remember asking, why do we meet on Mondays and why do we meet all the way on Thursday? Why we can't meet Monday and Tuesday? Something like that. I thought I remember.
Yeah, that probably is a reason. That probably has a reason to do with it, I would imagine. It's a tough turnaround to be able to get those.
I thought it was
but it's been scheduled in the bylaws and charter for a long time.
I thought it was a public notice thing.
Okay, got it. I didn't know if that was a motivating reason behind it or not, but.
Okay.
You stay out of time, so.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I thought it was a publication issue. Okay,
we
thank
good?
You. Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, Commissioner Epperson.
I withdraw. I'm ready to vote.
Okay. All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Epperson and a second by Commissioner Chavez. Let's vote.
All right, that motion carries with 10 in support and none in opposition with 2 absent. And that brings us now to communiques and committee reports.
Okay, get on the board. If there's anything else that you remember that you didn't do earlier. Commissioner Gage Watts.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to publicly thank Parks and Rec for their support with the literacy walk and the autism walks. You guys are awesome. Thank you. Every time we call on you to do anything, you're there to go above and beyond. So I just wanted to publicly thank you for that. And I also wanted to place emphasis on the budget report that we received with our timeline, to let the NGOs know that the letters to the organizations were issued on today. So the application process is open, and the deadline to submit those applications is July 21st. Thank you.
I got a point of clarification.
Okay.
Does that also with the economic development organizations as well, same timeline?
No.
No? Okay, thank you. Are
Okay.
y'all saying yes and everybody saying no? Well, we should have had a joint meeting then, because,
He said he didn't have a meeting. We usually issue them all at the same time.
okay, but we should have had a joint meeting if we're gonna make a timeline like this. And both committees could have made the recommendation.
We never had different dates for.
I know, but you got a new chairperson.
I can't, all right.
Okay. Commissioner Epperson?
Is Mr. Lawrence in today, Kevin? Kevin Lawrence, our facilities. He's not, okay. All right, I'll see him Thursday. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson.
Yeah, I normally would be doing what Todd is doing, but Juvenile Justice Committee meeting immediately following, I promised to get us in and out. So right here, I don't think we're moving. We'll be right here in chamber. So Juvenile Justice Committee meeting as soon as we wrap up here today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Commissioner Jones.
Just want to thank Parks and Recreation. We had our grand opening, re-grand opening over at Greenbrook Park last week. The citizens are really excited about it. So thank you all for your work, your hard work to get that done. I want to thank my fellow commissioners who did vote to appropriate those funds. They're already using the park, really excited about it. The seniors are more excited about the park than the children because it gives them a cool place to walk. With the walking trail and all, and just kind of hang out in the community. So thank you all again for that, and they're really excited about that. So I don't see anybody in the queue after me, Mr. President. I move to adjourn.
Okay, no. Wait a minute
I said,
now.
can I? I said, can I? I asked.
Oh, no, I'm fine. I'm just fine with that. A couple of things. Our discount program for our youth entrepreneurs started today, and it'll be for the next couple of weeks. As you know, I'm no longer really associated other than volunteering. We have some commissioners who've already volunteered to be a judge on that Wednesday. I know Commissioner Atkins has been one of the judges.
I have in the past, I'm not aware of being.
Well, you're on the list.
Okay.
Commissioner Chavez has also, and I've heard some interest from Commissioner Young to come and take part to see how these youngsters develop. And we have about 50 students this time, and it's at the Northwestern University Nursing School. They go there free of charge, and the parents are just totally elated. The second thing is, I just want to remind our attorney, I would like to have that navigable statute so we can see where we can go from there. I got to get something done with that mess back there behind my house. Okay, with that.
Constitution, I believe.
Meeting adjourned. Got you out by 5.